Welcome to Sachs Realty's Tuesday Night Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything real estate. Each week, we deliver expert information enabling you to make better informed decisions while keeping more money in your pocket. If you're interested in real estate, this is your show. Hey guys, welcome to our Tuesday Night Podcast. Oh man, we got a lot to unpack here tonight. And I got to tell you, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time in this market right now, I'm tired. Melissa, I'm tired. Are you tired?
I know you are. I actually feel great. It's, go home, have a little bit of rest, come back and refresh for the evening show. So, yeah, I'm excited to have another Tuesday night and to be with you.
It's youth. Well, thank you so much. You're showing your youth. So that's good. It's always glad to be doing this show with you guys. This market is so crazy right now. I mean, we have so much to unpack tonight. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about inventory. Inventory is terrible, at least where we are, and a lot of the areas where, where we talk to our broker friends, our other agents, our clients, you guys, our audience. I mean, inventory is just low. We're going to discuss that tonight. We're going to pull out a cool tool that if you guys chat in your zip code where you want to know what's happening in your market, we have a cool program we're going to pull up and kind of go over that and talk about, how that meter is running, if it's more on a seller's market, or getting close to a buyer's market in your zip code, if there's enough data to fire this chart, engine up here. So if you want to go ahead, you can start chatting in, commenting the zip code where you would like information, and then we'll be able to quickly turn that up. Also, guys, we did something we haven't done yet, and we posted the link to this stream. If you guys have been following us, you have something that you would like to come on and say. Hopefully it's nice.
Yeah.
A question, a comment. Go ahead and, we have a waiting room that you can go ahead, click that link. It's on YouTube, guys. Sorry if you're watching via Facebook or LinkedIn. It's not published there. You can cruise over to Sachs Realty's YouTube channel. There is a link for you to enter the stream. We'll bring you in. We have Joe in the background there that will take care of that, bring you in. And, we'd like to hear from you. If we can bring you in live, if you want to ask your questions live, we'd love to do that. A lot of times we don't get to answer everybody's question or comments. We have been doing a follow-up to that. We are posting it later on in the week, either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, a follow-up answering some of your questions that we can't get to on our live show. But guys, the market is kind of crazy right now. And one of the things that I want to draw your attention to is interest rates. Because depending on who you talk to, and if you're speaking to a loan officer, and I talk to multiple loan officers every single day, they are really trying to kind of polish the brass here. And they're slow. I mean, they're slow. If somebody tells you that they're busy right now, I would question that because, sales have tanked 30, 40%. Home sales are down. There's no inventory. The affordability is terrible, as you all know. And we're not really seeing the home prices dip down to where it makes a difference for people to feel good about jumping in. And I want to talk about it because I think that we're going to be looking at the FOMC meets again on the 21st and 22nd of March. And I think we're going to be looking at like another 0.5 point hike from the Fed. And, that's pretty considerable considering, that we've seen the fastest rate hikes within the last 12 months we've ever seen. And a lot of people were hoping that the Fed was going to pivot. But these reports keep coming out with inflation. that inflation is still way too high, and they're saying that the job markets are way too hot, and they need to keep pushing the rate hikes to really slow things down.
That's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. That's a whole month before the Fed is meeting. And as we're approaching, we're close to 7% for the interest rate. It is going to be a very interesting end of February going into the middle of March on what is going to be happening here. We've got comments here. You've got Johnny, iFly, and then you've got, right here, Nicolas Cage, do you think rates get back closer to 6% within the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think we're at 7%. Look, I don't know where everybody gets their information, but I have someone buying a new house right now that I know that has, and they have great credit, putting a lot of money down. They're at 7% with 2 points to get to 6.99% for a new home. I know of people right now 7.65%, 30-year mortgage, 3 points to get to the 7.65%. So when we're seeing these rates are really, they're in the sevens right now, and depending on what your credit score is. I was talking with somebody that said that their credit score dropped 50 points because of their credit card balances. So that's crushing them on the interest rate side. And so, we're seeing it. And we're seeing that sales are really stalling, but we're not seeing, the sellers are just holding dearly to the pricing. But anyway, we do have somebody, Duke. Let's bring Duke on, man. We've never done this before, so let's bring somebody in here and say hello. Hey, Duke, how's it going, man? Can you hear us?
Duke, you're muted.
Duke, you're muted.
Should be a mute button on the left side there. Maybe he doesn't have a mic hooked up. We'll see if he comes in.
Yep.
Oh, there he goes.
There
he dropped off. Guys, we'd love to have you join us. Come on in. The room is open if you would like to come on to our show live here. But let's take some questions. Here we go. We got him back.
Yep.
Let me turn my.
Man, we're gonna get visual too. We're gonna get a video.
No, I look horrible.
It's okay.
That's
You're
okay.
cool, man. Welcome to our show.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of surprised you guys called on me.
What's going on, man? What can we do?
I don't know. Well, I just logged in. I've been watching you guys for ages. My wife and we've been in the market in Denver for about 2 years. It's been brutal. Last year, we're trying to move from Boulder down to Denver. So, sorry, I'm a little sick under weather. So I'm telling you.
No, you're fine.
Plus, I get anxiety on these things. Anyway, so
Nope.
yeah, so we we're trying to sell and buy, and then last year we were able to sell our home in Boulder, and we didn't want to lose that sale, so we put a bunch of lowball offers around August last year, and just none of them came through, and so we got an 8-month rental and got the sale and put the money in the bank, and we're hoping to use that for our down payment. I'm probably the rare people that are kind of happy that the interest rates are going up. It kind of makes us competitive. We have good credit. We have good money down. And again, it's been brutal. It's been
frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, I pulled up Duke. I pulled up the Denver market. I don't know if you're looking at your screen here, but this is kind of like an up-to-date metric. This is as of Tuesday today. This kind of shows that what you're saying. Median list price has been skyrocketing, right? This is indicating a very strong seller's market. You see the median price of new listings has dropped a little bit. It's down to $690, but median list price is $713,873. What price range are you looking in?
We're looking around $350 to $400.
Yeah, so you're you're having
We
a tough time.
we like small. Yeah, it's been brutal. It's been rough. I mean, we went the whole 2020 and 2021. You know, we'd go to a house, we'd go to a showing or an open house, and it was just stand in line and make offers, and it was we've gone through 5 buyer agents and 3 seller agents. It's really frustrating. I think this is my opinion. Like, they're so used to pushing buyers up, and I just like, dude, you guys have to turn around and start pushing the sellers down. I don't. I'm not a real estate expert at all. We've just, I mean, my wife and I keep saying we and our 2 pets, but yeah.
So tell us about the experience with the buyer's agent. So, how are you communicating with them? I mean, you've been through 5 buyer's agents. I mean, what's going on? How do you kick them to the curb? How are you telling them, you know what, you're not going to bat for me?
Well, so I have a VA, so I was going through Veterans United. So 3 of them were through Veterans United, and there was no contract signed. So it would just kind of like we weren't getting kind of the attention, and again, this was back in 2020. Maybe we were a little too optimistic about it, and we just kind of, so it was kind of a mutual. It was kind of a easier thing. And then the 2 after that, it was really frustrating. They kept trying to put, like I said, they kept trying to push me up, and I kept telling them, like, they would say, oh, go 20,000, go 40,000 over listing, no inspection. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. I mean, and I'm so glad you and Travis and Orlando Minor and Michael, you guys have been a godsend, because sorry, I get really bad anxiety. It just did not make sense to us that these homes, the one fact that it was 30% year-over-year increase, and you guys know this, it's been said a million times, on home values when wages are only going up 3 or 5, that's unsustainable. At some point, it's going to crash. And I just kept telling real estate agents that, and I had to plan my life. I had to look at, what are the probabilities that the market's going to go up? What are the probabilities it's going to stay the same? What are the probabilities it's going to go down? And I would keep telling them, like, hey, if I buy, I may be underwater at some point, or, and it's all come to fruition. There's so many homes that we have gone through, that we have made offers on or saw, and everything I said that I was worried about has come to fruition. I think that there's so many benchmark homes. There was, one home, there was listed at 300,000. I went to the agent and I said, hey, I keep seeing that some of the home, it was right when the rates were going up and the market was coming down. And I said, hey, it's looking like people are getting homes at about $5,000 over listing. And I said, maybe we could do 5,000. He's like, oh, no, you got to go 20. You got to go 20. I said, dude, you know me. We've been doing this for months. And it came back and it sold at 306. And I think that could have been our home, and of course it was overpriced, but at the interest rates, and it was a monthly payment we could have made. I mean, I know marry the home, date the rate, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, we could have been in that home. There was another home. It came out last November. It was at 320. It was when we were trying to do low balls, and I looked at it and we did 280 on it just to try, because we were trying to get a home instead of rent. And they came back and asked 300, and then I went through and I've kept documents and Excel spreadsheets and everything of every home, and that home actually came on the market in February of, how to get my years right here, 2022. And it was listed at 270, and we were going to make an offer at 280. And this other person came in and bought it out from the market at 320. And then for whatever reason, in August, they were trying to sell it. Yeah. And, my agent was like, oh, you're making them take a $40,000 loss. And I was like, listen, I got to find
And it's frustrating too, because it's like, oh, you guys keep looking for deals. And I'm like, we're not looking for deals. We're
Right. You
looking
just don't want to get ripped off.
we
Right.
just want a
Yeah.
reasonably priced home. It's been madness. It's been frustrating.
Well, you know, Duke, it's interesting. You know, you're talking about a couple things. I was taking some notes. I mean, you know, a lot of this I feel, and I feel that a lot of the agents are fueling these prices still.
Yes.
You know, when we're looking, and you know, there's about 900,000 houses on the market right now, and there's about 1.6 million, 1.5 million real estate licensees. So when you kind of break that down and you look at, you know, the amount of agents that are out there that, you know, haven't sold properties in the last couple of months, and you know, they're still kind of, you know, they're looking at the inventories being you know, very low, and you know, and they're gauging, I guess, the buyers sort of like their excitement. I don't know that they're taming the excitement or whether they're kind of fueling the excitement, but a lot of what we're seeing is when these offers are coming in, we're still seeing that one or two of the offers are coming in way over list price. And you know, when I mean, look, we get to see the back end of the deal when we're working it directly, right? So if we have the listing, you know, we get to watch. Excuse me. And when we're looking at, you know, offers coming in all across the board, it's like, you know, it's kind of, hey, we're not going to educate these buyers agents when we're listing a house, but certainly when a buyer's agent is, you know, helping a buyer in today's market, they need to ask a lot of questions. They need to, you know, reach out to the listing agent, try and find out what's going on. Because I can tell you in a lot of these cases, we're not even hearing from the buyer's agents. There's zero conversations going on. The buyer's agents they're making an appointment for the house, you know, to see the house. And then they're just following up with, hey, you know, do you have any offers? Maybe they're asking that question, maybe not. Maybe they're just saying, I have an offer, you know, my client's writing an offer, you know, when will you be presenting it to your client? There really isn't any kind of back and forth, at least the deals that I'm managing and, you know, or seeing, most of them, it's just submitting the offers as quickly as they can. And it's still, so we're seeing, you know, days on the market, very, very short still, you know, in our market here in Maryland, and everything's priced different. I mean, you know, I was talking with somebody, a client of mine that moved out of state, and, you know, he keeps calling me and asking me my opinion on these deals. He's working with an agent, not somebody that we referred. He'd already started working with this agent. And basically she keeps pushing him and pressuring him. You know, they're a couple, and, you know, she keeps pressuring them to buy, and, you know, buy now, buy now, buy now. And this house that they've been looking at, it happens to be an open door listing. And, you know, it started out, you know, now it's like $150,000 less than what it had listed for originally, which was in that $900,000 range. And, you know, it's like this agent was telling them weeks ago to, you know, you're going to lose it. You know, you got to put your offer in. And it keeps dropping. So I think a lot of it is, you know, the buyers are just starting to become smarter here. And then, you know, I talked this particular couple off the shelf several times over the last couple months, not changing their mind on whether they should buy or not, just saying, look, let's look at the facts. Let's look at your bank account. Let's look at what you can afford. You know, was going to do a buy down mortgage in, you know, the first year, it's X amount of dollars, second year, and then the third year it taps out. And if they can't refinance, they're going to be spending, you know, another $500 or $600 a month on the mortgage payment in 2 years. So, or on that third year. So I think that we are seeing that buyers are getting smarter. They're starting to slow down a little bit. But Duke, you know, you got to just, you have to wait for what you're looking for. And the price range that you were giving us here in, share my screen back again, you know, in Denver, I mean, you know, if we look at these, if you look at in the 453 median price range, right? I mean, you're looking at 49 days on the market. They're not covering anything in the threes. So, I mean, you're just going to have to keep waiting. But I can tell you, your market does not appear to be cooling off very much. I mean, it's, here we are. It's going up. 713 is a median list price. So, hey, man, we appreciate you joining in with us. And we appreciate you watching us.
No,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Duke.
I really, you guys have been wonderful. Like I said, all these YouTube guys, you guys have just been so reassuring. It just, we probably would have made a really poor decision, or just our stress levels would have been extremely high. It's very validating to deal with the real estate agent and markets.
Well, just keep interviewing, man. Keep interviewing, stay strong, and, be patient.
We got one last thing. Like when we were doing those lowball offers, well, and they weren't really lowball. Like I said, again, reasonable. But we used the Zillow agents. Like we found we would request a showing with the Zillow agents and found that they were a lot more amenable to they wouldn't try to force us into a higher price. But anyways.
Well, cool, buddy. Well, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
We got Travis on tap here.
That's not a advertisement for Zillow agents. There's problems there, but we just got tired of the agents. But we have 4 agents right now. They don't know it, but we've been talking to all 4 because our rental lease is up in July, and we've told them, yeah, we'll be back in the market in July, and we're slowly trying to pick the right one.
Yeah. Well, good, man. Well, thanks for joining. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, buddy. Ha! Look who it is, man. We don't have Travis, the man himself.
Yes, I had to drop everything I was doing to come on here, man. I'm feeling a little not 100%, but it's nice to see you. I wanted to ask you guys a question.
Sure, man.
Okay.
Oh, he's drinking Red Bull? You serious?
Man, look, it's my drink of choice at this hour, buddy.
It's basically, anyways. So I was wondering what you thought about the 10-year. Do you think the 10-year is going to hit 4%? And do you think it will hit 4% this week?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I don't know about this week, but I do think it'll hit 4%. I think we're headed to higher interest rates. I think the risk is high. It's high, man. I think, Travis, loans like anybody, right? I mean, you understand it. The market, I mean, I was talking with a loan officer today. She said that she's putting more first-time buyers with zero cash or very little cash, because that's the buyer out there. They don't have cash, into homes. And she's bragging about it, getting these people approved and, putting them in homes. And this is disaster on its way, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that I've noticed, Todd, is the second round of inflation, right? It appears there's it's a danger, it's right around the corner, basically. So I kind of feel like, man, I had to put my plans to purchase on hold. I'm a little bit bothered about that. I'm going to probably move back into a rental property. And what I've noticed, man, is the housing market in my areas, it's going down, it's crashing in price, but when I look at the affordability, it's just not there. And with that 10-year, I see that 10-year leading to some potential black swan events. What about you?
Yeah, well, let's talk about inflation, because I had a conversation with somebody earlier this week, and they had said, inflation's coming down, the market's strong, blah, blah, blah. Inflation is high. It is so high. I mean, it is so much higher than where we need to be in a healthy, situation. And here's what people, I don't think, understand about inflation. Just because prices aren't coming down does not mean we're in a good economy. Because what it's telling me is that businesses can't lower their prices because the cost of doing business is too high. So it's like, I don't understand where, look, I'm not an economist. I'm not a Fed. I'm not a, president of a bank, but I don't get it. It's like, okay, we're going to bring inflation down, but we're not going to curb anything that applies to how pricing comes down. There's no brakes, right? Everything's expensive. Transportation's expensive, because of energy costs, right? Insurance is expensive. Taxes are expensive. Payroll is expensive. Healthcare is expensive. These are burdens on businesses that keep going up, that are preventing prices from coming down. People are buried in debt right now. So that goes with the businesses. Their revolving lines of credit have gone up. They are, electric bills aren't getting paid. So now the electric companies are, I was talking to a couple businesses in the last few weeks to where now they have to put, and I'm talking about their electric bills, $20,000, $25,000 a month for their business. They're delinquent on that. Now the electric company's telling them they need to put a $25,000 or $30,000 security deposit down by the next month, or they're going to shut their electric off, these businesses. Right? I mean, these are big time. This is, people don't understand. We're seeing the first dominoes fall in the commercial real estate business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was it Brookfield? I have it. This is a, let's see here. I have it here.
There's a lot going on, Todd. There's a lot going on, man. And I don't understand it. I mean, I kind of feel like if we would have kept rates where they're supposed to be, and where they're supposed to be, where I would prefer them to be, the Fed fighting inflation, and not so much the kind of the flip-flopping per se. Like in June, remember June, the rates were going up from about March, and then June we kind of went down, and then the rates went up, and then in November rates went down. Inflation came back, people started spending money. And what I'm really learning, man, is that I got to be patient. And we all got to be patient. And the more data that I get, it to me, it's the clearer things become that this seems a lot like 2007, to be honest with you. Minus foreclosures, minus unemployment, minus hypersupply, right? But things are changing and people are overspending.
Yeah, check this out. 2 properties in default, part of a portfolio called Brookfield DTLA Fund. This guy is filing bankruptcy to the tune of $750 million, right? Now, basically what they're saying, this is the first domino to fall. I could pull up article after article here, right? Malls are going bankrupt.
Yeah.
There's, a mall in Massachusetts or New Jersey, I think it is. They have like a $380-some million default. Right? I mean, we haven't, this is, so now these businesses are supposed to, the prices are supposed to come down, right? When, it's not going to happen. It can't happen.
It's not going to happen without pain. It's not going to happen without pain. And when people start going out of business and their inventory is there, and then that inventory floods the market. I mean, I don't see how. I just don't see how there's any type of possibility of a soft landing, because even if they reverse it, even if the rates go down, it's still unaffordable. The prices of the houses are still unaffordable. I think if they just do more money printing, lower interest rates, obviously we're going to have that hyper supply. I'm sorry. I wish it was hypersupply. That would be a good thing, right? Hyperinflation. And when you get the hyperinflation, people can't keep up with their bills because the wages aren't keeping up. It's going to be, I think the economy will be in a much worse situation. Now, I'm not as smart as you, Todd. Half of my owning career was been owning houses in foreclosure. All right. So I know a lot about foreclosure, a lot about what not to do, because half of my adult life was doing the wrong thing in the housing market through the last recession. So it's just so mind-blowing to me how people are still spending like crazy, man. Now, I know
Travis, I had it happen to me, man, in the early 90s. I mean, I don't think it's a matter of, hey, you're no smarter, I'm no smarter, or, we're in this together. I mean,
We
people,
are.
we make mistakes. When I look at it, I was listening to a program the other day, and the guy was saying, like, if we only listen to people, right? I mean, people trying to give us advice, but we don't want to be told what to do. That's the bottom line. As a kid, we kind of grow up, get in a car, get this, get that. It's time for dinner. Get dressed. You don't wear that. You wear this, do that, buy that. I think we get to a certain point in our life, it's like 13, when we end up hanging out with our peers, and, we're free, right? We get to make our own decisions. So I think the big thing is, and I'm trying to be careful about this more now. The older I get, maybe I'm starting to wisen up to it. But when you tell people what to do, they kind of rebel against it, right? They shut down. And I think it's because of when we were kids, right? From childhood. So I think that we somehow need to be able to come across to people to say, look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but your elders or people that have been through these types of things in life, we've learned some things, right? And, so I think it's a fine line. You can't tell people what to do. I certainly am not trying to tell people to not buy a house. Some people are just hell-bent to do it, and they're going to do it no matter what. They can afford it, and that's cool.
Yeah.
No big deal,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
And
that's up to them.
And Todd, I wanted to bring someone on my channel also. I love what you guys are doing. Is there anyone else waiting? Like, come on, guys, log in. Join
I think
the
somebody
channel.
just dropped off.
I know,
Get back
there
on.
was.
Where did he
Yeah.
go? Come on back on.
I wanted to have Annie come on my last live video I did, because Annie just bought. She just bought in Austin, and she'll tell you, man. I begged her not to. I'm a little shameless. I want people to do their thinking, but I have my own opinion, right? Don't let me think for you, but here's my opinion. But I tried to talk her out of it, and she finally convinced me that, she was a well-qualified buyer. She's owned real estate before. She just sold her primary residence. She cashed in on that from California. And so she had all this money, and she was renting a room, and she's a professional. She's a
Right.
nurse, and she needed to get out of there, man, for her, just that mental health and just to move on with her life. So anyways, I understand there's reasons to buy is my point. And a 1031 exchange is another one.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to. I want to talk to you, but Vagnesh, did we say that right?
Hi bro, where are you from? Where are you from?
You're tuning in to the U.S. here, buddy. Where are you from?
I'm from India.
Very nice to see you. It's morning, I guess,
Hi,
huh?
ma'am.
Morning in India.
What is topic of the discussion?
Say again.
What is topic of the discussion?
Real estate, mortgage rates.
You just
Okay,
joined
okay.
us just to come in, and what's going on, man? What
Just
do you know
only
about
one-
U.S. real estate?
Just only streamer can for the voice speaking only. Sometimes before the English practicing purpose. Okay.
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 Hi.
Bye.
Bye.
That was cool. He's from India.
Yeah.
It's dark,
From
right?
India.
It is nighttime where I'm
I think we
at.
got somebody else here. Joe, is somebody? I
Hello,
just see
hello?
Cloud. I don't know. Do we have
we
you?
can hear you, Cloud.
What was that?
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, Cloud,
can
go
hear you.
ahead. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate everything you guys do, Travis, yourself including. I'm in Denver, like the earlier caller. I was just wondering how you guys feel on pending homes. I know I've been doing a lot of analysis in my market. Travis, I've looked at Leonard too. A lot of realtors that we talk to are pressuring us again to like put a bid, go over asking price, get no appraisal here. What I'm seeing on Redfin, obviously downtrends on everything, or uptrends if you're pending or days on the market. But what I'm also seeing is a lot of houses go pending and then like a month later they come back on the market. Do you guys have any perspective on that? Are you seeing that anywhere else? Will that add to inventory or yeah, would love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of it here locally. A huge amount of inventory I think it's buyer exuberance. They put it under contract, they get an inspection, and then they realize that there's a lot that the house needs for the price that they offered, and they try and renegotiate at that point with the seller, and the seller basically, they don't want to hear it, right? I mean, if you're coming with major repairs, let's say you have a $450,000 contract and you have a home inspection and you find out that your heating and air system is end of life. That could be $20,000 or $25,000 for a change out, or maybe the roof is in the last third of its life. That could be another $20,000 bill. So what we're seeing is that buyers are saying, hey, look, we'll still move forward, but we want these items fixed. And of course, the seller has to decide, are they going to fix it or are they going to go back on the market? And the issue really becomes, now with that house going back on the market, it's almost like it's stigmatized. It's not, but it's to the eyes of the public because they don't know what happened. So the first thing that they're assuming is, oh, geez, somebody else didn't want it. So now in the consumer's mind, it's worth even less, right? In a lot of cases. I mean, this isn't 100%, in one way or the other, but that's what we're seeing. So if you're an agent listening to this and, you're not that experienced and you have a listing, you really need to qualify the buyers, ask the agents a lot of questions about their buyer and, what are they looking for in a home inspection? Maybe, you could even, vet them out by saying, hey, look, are you willing to, forego any repairs? Will your buyer forego any repairs that's less than $5,000 to try and avoid the nickel and diming that could take place? And again, this is, if I'm representing the seller, obviously if I'm representing you as my buyer, we're not going to tolerate that, right? But my point is that for sellers listening and sellers agents, because so much inventory is coming back on the market, it's actually putting the seller in a worse position, in my opinion, than not. Travis?
I'm seeing, so I'll go into the builders, right? And, I think we really try to make this clear, Todd. I mean, it's hyper local. Some subdivisions they're gonna sell because they're the most valuable of houses in the entire land, right? The magical land or whatever. But I'm seeing
Magical land.
I mean, dude, like just walk away. I'm just saying, just walk away. I apologize, but I'm seeing it all over the place with new construction. I'll go into new construction and they'll tell me like, man, we've seen a 70% cancellation rate, but then the rates started going down as of November. So that started shifting, but guess what just happened? Right? I'm telling you guys right now, people are getting 7% right now. So what we're gonna see is we're gonna see more cancellations from new home builders. Now in my local area, there's so much inventory that we can often have a buyer put an earnest money of $500 down, $500 to lock that house up. So and I would also say to the what was the gentleman's name that's on right now?
His screen name says Cloud.
Cloud.
You still with us?
Cloud?
Yeah.
Cloud or Cloud?
Actually, it's Claude.
Yeah.
Oh, Claude. All right,
Claude.
Claude. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Claude is
Sorry,
awesome,
Claude.
too.
Sorry, Claude.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, man. So one thing I'll have to tell you, man, is a realtor's most realtors' job is to sell you a house. So if you're gonna talk to a realtor and you're gonna say I'm interested in buying a house, they're gonna put you in that arena, right? So you got to be, if you're gonna be in the arena, you have to be prepared for that type of emotion. But don't forget this: they work for you. So if you feel pressured, usually have them back off, right? But my point is, and Todd, back to you in a minute, but they work for you, brother, and you shouldn't feel rushed. The premise in the rushing is and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but in a balanced housing market, if you find a home you love and you want, you have to be strategic in putting in an offer to secure the property, right? So that's the urgency there usually. But in this housing market, I mean, if things are just so unaffordable, man, I don't, that's why I've got out completely. I mean, I get so many emails. So anyways, Claude, I hope that helps, man. What do you think, Todd?
I was going to say, this is all great insight from my perspective, so thank you.
I don't I don't mean to jump in here, but Lexi, I see you, girl. I see you commenting here, and I'm going to read this for you. I'm a well-qualified buyer in the bracket for the best mortgage rate, and Brenda, who was her lender, quoted me today at 7.25%. Buyers will definitely be backing down if it stays high, not worried about the rate, only price.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting unaffordable for people. I mean, that the rates are changing the qualifications for people and really limiting what they can buy. And the unfortunate thing is the, you know, for those first time buyers, the that market is really challenged the most because, you know, unless you have you can really jump in to a high priced home. You know, the lower priced houses are just, you know, so competitive. I want to go over some of these. Travis, are you familiar with altos here?
Dude, you
ever
know
seen this?
I am. Yes, yeah, I love it. I love it. And also Lexi, I just want to just shout out to Lexi. Ah, thank God she said that, Todd. I'm so proud of that girl. Price is more important than interest rate. Like, thank God for her when she said that. I actually saw that comment earlier. I wanted to give her a shout out. I completely forgot, but Lexi, price is more important than rate. And do you guys see what I'm saying about the 7% are already here? But I love altos.
Yep.
It's zip code specific. It's amazing.
Yep. So we had somebody, robot, had asked about Evans, Georgia, and so I pulled Evans, Georgia up here. Can you all see that on my screen?
We can, yeah.
Yeah. So here we are, Evans, Georgia. Looks like the median price is on the rise a little bit. Average days on the market is kind of flattening out. February here, it's up a little bit from February 3rd. Let's just take a look here. But it is on the rise. So on a 90-day average, you can see we've gone up about, in the last 7 days, about 10 days on the market. So things are slowing down a little bit there. And then we've got our price ranges here down at the bottom with the 457, 400, the highest days, oddly enough, on the market, 98. So hopefully, Robot, you're still with us here. Let's look at 80501.
Looks like it's changing pretty quickly there into buyer's market, huh? We'll judge
It
from that
is.
little
Well, if we look
barometer.
at this thing, Travis, a couple months, I mean, now look, here you go, Longmont, I guess, Colorado.
That's bad.
You know, here, you know, it's a stronger seller's market here. We can see this uptick in median price. So, yeah.
What about St.
Average
Louis?
days on the market.
I don't know what the zip code is, actually. I think these are good tools, man. But, you know, I think this helps a lot of people. But I still love the accessing MLS. Realtors have access to MLS, market analysis, square footage, rent range, median sales price, you know, specific to like subdivision. I'll go specific to subdivision. There's St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Brutal.
So 47, but again, I mean, months ago, I mean, we were seeing this all the way up on this right side, 70% north. So things are coming down. I mean, look at this median price has dropped significantly here, right? 128.5. So, and again, a seller's market, it's just a lot of this has to do with inventory. That's just not a lot of inventory, though we are seeing the days on the market here rise, and that's just telling us the buyers are saying no. So, you know, it is getting closer to a buyer's market. But, guys, I mean, the sellers are just very slow to drop their price right now. And we're seeing where sellers, I mean, I had a call that came in today. I have a listing that's coming soon on the 1st of March. And, you know, somebody in the neighborhood called me up. And the first thing, you know, he wanted to know is it worth him selling his house right now? And he said that he doesn't have to move. Well, I mean, you know, what do you want me to say?
Did he have a low rate, or was it paid off?
He does. He has a very low rate, and that's the other problem, Travis.
Yeah, where's he going to go?
I mean, he's going to go live with his daughter.
Okay.
Yep.
See, it makes sense.
Yep, so-
It's the hard part about do I sell right now and try to cash in before the spring inventory now I'm interested to see what happens in your market, your guys' market out east when that spring inventory starts hitting. Like how many people are going to continue to buy unaffordable houses? Right? It can't last much longer, man. Right? I mean,
Yep.
in my
Look at this,
local
Newark,
market,
Delaware.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still hot, right?
Yeah.
So we see that median prices dropping off, 317. In December it was 329. Or sorry, what are we here? January 6th, 365. Now it's at 317. But it's still, very little inventory, and considering, this indicator here is still a very strong seller's market.
What's Austin look like?
I was looking at that earlier.
I haven't used Altos in a few weeks, I think.
It was still pretty good, actually.
Really?
I was surprised. I thought it would be in the buyer's, range, but it's still up there. So slight seller's advantage. It is coming down, but still very strong. All right, let's see. 32223. Let's check it out. Hopefully, guys. And if you want me to look something up for you here, just go ahead and comment it in Jacksonville, Florida. See what we got here. Still strong.
Florida's in bad shape, man.
Now, it is dropping off. I mean, you can see the sharp decline in the median price. So, 579 in February 10th. I mean, you can see the sharp decline. Here we are, the 17th. Pretty sharp decline. So, Travis, what do you think about the Fed? You think they're going to continue to raise the rates half a point here?
Oh, you mean coming up? I certainly
Coming up.
It's their position to, and I think they should, because the market has been fighting the Fed the entire time. I think it makes a good signal to the market that, hey, we mean business. If you keep fighting us, you're going to get hurt. So but then again, I thought a lot else was needed that didn't happen. So, I hope that they do, Todd. I'm tired of getting my, feelings hurt by the Fed not, punishing us, and having us, and having this whiplash kind of like syndrome. The whiplash is just so unnecessary, man. I mean, they told us what they're going to do. They said, wait, they said they're going to reset it. Maybe I'm a little bearish on the housing market, but I don't see how they're going to get, the unaffordability, man. The unaffordability.
Travis, you had said something about, this market reminding you more of the 2008 market. Do you really think prices are going to crash?
I don't think it's going to crash necessarily in every metro area, but I already know that it's going to crash, and it already has crashed in some metro areas. Again, the second round of inflation, I don't know why, but people rallied and started buying again, and it took a little bit of steps back. Not a lot. All it did is they're locked into, every situation is different, but there are already places that I would consider crashing. All kinds of places in California, Boise, Phoenix. It depending on what the definition of a crash is, Todd, right? Like, how do we define? I define it as 15% as a bare minimum. Like, I get hate, but I'm saying as a bare minimum 15, and we've already exceeded 15 in many areas. My question is when is it going to touch your market, and how is it going to affect St. Louis, right? How's it going to affect stronger, especially Florida? Because it's harder for me to figure that part out without the unemployment and without the foreclosures. So I go back to the other Black Swan events that I think would have to happen for it to evenly distribute. But I already know it's going to crash, man.
Well, I lost my train of thought there. The sellers, if we're looking at, 40% hikes since 2020, 2021, right? 40% price hikes.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, you know, if it goes down 10%, that's nothing.
That's not true. I don't think 10%'s a lot for equity loss for it to go down. Going down is even stickier than it going up. Don't you agree?
I do. I think that what we're going to see, though, you know, early on, and I called 10%, and I'm not trying to be right here. I'm just trying to say that when this thing started out, or when I saw the indications last April that the market had peaked. You know, we really predicted a 10%, you know, peak to trough. And, you know, I think that what we're going to see, and I said that there was really two kind of scenarios. One scenario was that we would see a big market crash,
Yeah.
something significant, 30, 40%, you know, price declines. Or we would see what we saw in the 1980s, which was really stagflation in housing, in a housing recession. Because in the 70s, when we had all the inflation, the people that had bought, you know, in the 70s, early 70s, had low interest rates compared to what it was in the 80s. And there was something different back then because loans were assumable. So that helped to keep the market kind of stable, right? We didn't see major, you know, price declines in the 80s, I think, because of that. Because people could say, hey, look, you know, the only way I can get out of my house right now is to give them the price, the 80s price at the 70s rate.
Yeah.
Will we get back to conventional mortgages being assumable?
They're already assumable, but it's a horrible underwriting. I mean, is it really assumable? It's more of it's an underwriting process. They have to go through the underwriting process. Is it worth it? Yeah. If it's a 2 or 3% interest rate, I think it's worth it. But the other thing is this, man, the investors already are saturated. There's so much investor share around the market. I don't think the investors are going to be able to bail us out of this one. I think part of the reason why we're in this situation, other than the Fed, obviously, is the out of control investor share. And I'm not talking about the well-insulated investors, and there are well-insulated investors. I'm talking about the new investors that
they
don't
bought
know what
10
they're
years
doing.
ago.
Right. Yeah. The ones that bought 10 years ago, fine. You know, they're doing well. But man, like, you know, I go to some of these forums online just to like lurk, you know, from behind the scenes. I don't say anything. I don't want them to go off on me. I get enough hate every once in a while. But the things that they're saying, and they're investing in houses. I read this post of someone that purchased a house for $250,000, completely destroyed. And they're asking people, all right, we just got it. Now what? Like, how do we access the equity in the house? Like, once it's rehabbed, they're like, once it's rehabbed, it's worth $500,000, but we need $150,000 to rehab it. And they're like, where do we get the $150,000? And everyone's just clowning them and just bullying them, like, you messed up. You better learn the hard way. And that's all I'm seeing, man. I'm seeing investors right now try to get into properties with little out of pocket. I'm seeing investors right now that are chasing appreciation, which is not smart, right? And investors that, quite frankly, dude, I know this sounds crazy. I'm not saying all people, but a lot of them, they don't even understand what cash flow is, man. They don't even understand
Travis,
what cash flow is.
They have never seen a downturn. A lot of these investors since 2013, they don't even know what can come, what can happen. Look, I talk to so many people that are renting right now. When their lease is up, they're moving. They can't afford to buy a house, but they're looking for a cheaper rental. Fact.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people that I've spoken with that have said that exact same thing. They said, you know what? I can't afford to buy a house, but my lease is up in June and I'm putting my 60-day notice in. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm looking for something cheaper. and they're out there. They're out there. Rents are going to decline.
It's declining. I mean, Jerome Powell has said he needs, in so many words, the rent to go down. He said that, and it is going down. Again, you know what's going to be really interesting, Todd, is once we get through the seasonality, because there's a lot of people hanging on to seasonality is the reason why the trends are going the direction they are. And I'm like, well, yes, but on top of the seasonality, we have a little something called quantitative tightening and like not renewing mortgage-backed securities and things like that, like really important stuff, right? And the 10-year treasury, which did I show you the 10-year treasury? Okay, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that.
Go ahead.
Anyways, I wasn't set up. But anyways, I was just trying to be fancy. It blew up in my face. My throat hurts, man. I talked to Orlando before I came on here, and I gave Orlando everything I had because I'm still getting the surgery or the procedures that I had, and we in Orlando and I were talking about how important it is that we stay together, and it's not like one person takes all, you know. And him and I were talking about how blessed we were to share experiences like with you, you know, Scott, Orlando, you know, Luke, and Steve as well when Steve's in there. Dude, we're so blessed, man. You know, we keep each other accountable. And so anyways, all I'm trying to say is, dude, I couldn't leave you hanging. I know I said I couldn't come on today, but I was like, no, I got to come on. I put the Saks Realty on.
I see that.
I threw the hat on. I'm sorry, man. I threw the hat on. I'm a little bit of a mess, but dude, I think the higher mortgage rates, they're going to crash the prices. They are. You can't have, like when I went to Phoenix, oh my gosh, man, like the realtors from the metro areas I visited, so much hate. And looking back, man, I mean, I don't like it. We're peers. All I'm saying is be cautious. Maybe I should tone down my opinion some. But, dude.
Hey, Travis, I think we're the only ones that are being, you know, upfront about this. We're the ones that are kind of spearheading this, the obvious, right? And I think the public is tired of the BS, man. I mean, you know, let's face it. You know, it's not easy. I mean, I make my business selling houses, right? My money selling houses. I mean, I have agents that I'm concerned about their livelihoods.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you know, but we have a responsibility.
I know.
As leaders in the industry, we have a responsibility as, you know, people that don't know this business, how many, they say, I was just reading it, an article on Realtor.com today. I think it's either 1 or 2 of 5 that have bought a home, and the first-time buyers that have purchased a home in the last 2 years have remorse.
Is that crazy?
That's terrible.
That's so crazy.
That's
That is
terrible.
sad.
Why were we allowing these people? Why weren't we standing strong and saying you don't buy a house without a home inspection? And if that's what it takes, then don't buy one.
That's not how the industry works, unfortunately.
Don't buy one. These things cost a lot of money, right? I talk to people every single day that say, what does this mean? They're sending me pictures. They ripped up carpeting and they have what appears to be asbestos flooring underneath of the carpeting. This is going to cost them tens of thousands of dollars maybe to remediate if they choose to do so. I mean, it's
bad.
very upsetting.
And
it's an industry, unfortunately, that, you know, I love my business, but I have to answer to this.
Yes.
Right? And I think that overall, and believe me, there's a ton of critics out there. I mean, I probably have real estate agents that have subscribed to me and unsubscribed and subscribed. Out of the 1,000,006 real estate agents, I don't know, maybe I've had 100,000 subscribe and 150,000 unsubscribe. I don't know. I can tell you, though, that I have no intentions on stopping, you know, with what we're doing to educate the public that they need to be very careful when they're signing a 30-year commitment.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Until it's not time, right? Until we can be optimistic. I want to be optimistic. I want to make money. I don't want to have to move back into
There's
my rental.
no pessimism in that, in my opinion, Travis.
exactly.
I don't think it's not a matter to me, whether it's time to be optimistic or not. It's time to be practical. In any market, we need to be practical. We have to get back to the basics, and and as professionals, we have to make sure that we are educating and doing our fiduciary, what we're licensed to do.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
There's complaints. I should just pull it up. I mean, they spoke about the amount of complaints that are filed at the real estate commission. This is on realtor.com.
Are you serious?
See if I can find it here.
You know what it is? It's overpaying, feeling bullied, I'm sure, feeling pressured, buyer's remorse, right? I mean, what we're saying is what happens. I hate it, man. I don't want to tell people that my peers treat buyers this way, but it happens. I don't make the rules, and it sucks. Really does, actually.
Yep.
Are you guys seeing
roughly 11% of homeowners who purchased their properties last year with a mortgage were a bit underwater on those loans at the end of November? That's according to the most recent Black Knight data. Says this percentage of underwater borrowers is more than normal, the highest since 2011, according to Black Knight.
Do you guys see price appreciation still, Todd?
Yeah.
That's crazy. We're still seeing it.
Decline? I mean, the market has come down from where it is in the peak in April or May, but that is still showing in a lot of cases 3%, 3% over from last peak. year over year, not peak. It's come down from peak.
Okay.
But keep in mind, I mean, from this time a year ago and the peak just a couple months away, I mean, prices were steamrolling. Travis, that's when we saw price appreciation. Some people were going $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over the price of and that's over appraised value. So we saw a huge, I mean, Joe can pull the median price chart up. I mean, we know it well.
And while he does that, I mean, we've got Orlando Rodriguez, Patience People. It's only been 7 months since peak. We're talking about, crashing all the time. It's only been 7 months.
Yeah.
And we still have a long way to go.
Agreed.
Yeah. Any other questions, Melissa?
Oh my gosh. It's very overwhelming. Yes, there's a ton. I'm just going to pull one of these. We also have
Zach and Matt.
Oh, waiting. Yeah. We have some people in the queue lined up to join as well. Yeah.
Let's bring them on. This is fun, man. I like doing this, bringing in our audience.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring both of them in.
All right. Who do we have?
Hi, my name's Zach. I'm here in Iowa.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Zach.
I'm just going to... Oh, yeah.
Thanks for having me on here. So I'm a well-qualified buyer, and I've actually been following you for some time now, and looking to get in the market. I'm just curious, like a lot of realtors I talk to are very bullish on housing prices, and they've really come down here in Eastern Iowa compared to last June, like when it peaked out. I sold my house last year because I could see interest rates turning, got a really good price, been living with family since then, and looking to get back in the market sometime. But what are some good questions I can ask these realtors? Or if I can't find someone who's kind of in my court, can I submit an offer myself directly to the seller's agent? Is that a possibility?
Yeah. So, and it's a great question. How do you interview an agent? What should you be asking? I jumped on a call with somebody from our audience, one of our followers, with an agent in Tennessee, and helped them to interview. And basically, it was amazing what she had said. She was saying, hey, it's always a good time. Just jump in. Don't listen to the news. You're going to miss out. A friend of mine, bought a house, has, $80,000 in equity. And, if they would have waited, they would have foregone that. And I said, well, when was that? And,
Sure.
she said 2 years ago, right? Of course, everybody had 70, 80,000 in equity if they bought 2 years ago. But, what you want to really ask is, number one, are they full time? Because, you want to make sure that somebody, has the time to invest in you. And a lot of times when people have full-time jobs and this is a second side gig for them, you're not really getting somebody that has their thumb on the pulse on the market. So, making sure you have a full-time agent. Also you want to say how many houses have you closed on or sold in the last 2 months, not 6 months, because it's a complete different market in the last 2 months as it was in the last 6 months ago. And a lot of times historically we're looking at comps, comparable sales from six months ago. You can't really do that in today's market. We need somebody who is active in the market day to day right now, and that has a couple transactions that have either closed in the last month and a half, or that has gone under contract in the last month and a half, because there's a huge difference in in the transaction in just that short period of time. And then also I would ask them how they're going, number one, if, how are they going to handle a competitive, negotiation? What happens if there are multiple offers on a particular property? How do they handle that? What kind of questions do they ask the listing agent? Because, that's important. Listen to what they say. Are they just going to tell you to put an escalation clause in and outbid, or do they have a strategy of finding out what are the other offers, and, is there something else that's more important to the seller other than price that maybe that you could satisfy not being a top bidder? But, just to jump into, the market and, just throw pricing around or compete with yourself, it's a difficult position to be in, especially if you don't have an agent that, can.
Because I've interviewed like 5, 6, 7 realtors the past month or so, and trying to get information out of them is like trying to get blood out of a turnip. It's terrible, because they're I don't want to say shady, but they're not letting on to as much as they know, and you can easily tell that in the conversation. So it's like I'm asking them for data. They're giving me, data that is very whitewashed, or it's like, they're not showing you the underlying numbers to the graphs, or they're just very cookie cutter generic. And I've tried getting into Fred a bit, and looking there, but just trying to find good resources so I can come prepared and just kind of test their integrity, because that's, I just want someone that's going to be honest with me as a buyer, not just looking after their own commission.
So Todd, can I chime in a little bit and maybe?
Absolutely.
So my angle, on this, man, I like to test people out with data, and if they're giving you whitewash data, you can move on to the next one. It's not hard to find realtors, brother. Listen to what I'm saying. Test them with the data. Have them do what I recommend people do a lot, because here's the thing: Fred and Redfin and these, Altos research is only going to take you so far. We need active data. We need MLS data. From our markets that we want to buy in. So you, in my opinion, should be asking realtors to do a market analysis on the area that you're interested in, maybe the city or the subdivision, even the subdivision for the last 4 years. And if they say, what do you mean a market analysis? Say, I want to know what the average price per square foot was for the home sold in this area, average median sales price, right? Average square footage. You need to understand the last 4 years of the market. And a realtor needs to help you with that. And again, if they're whitewashing you, that unfortunately they may be I want to be sensitive. They may be cheerleaders. All right, I think that was sensitive, but they may be cheerleaders. And
I agree.
the thing is, you just got to be so careful, man. And if they're not willing to put forth the data and the expertise, I think you just move on to the next one. And Todd, you may hate me for saying this, but I don't believe in buyer rep agreements. I just don't. No, when you're putting it on, Todd, I can see you're smirking. But when you put in the offers
What
on
do
the
you mean?
houses,
What do you mean, Travis?
all right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at. I get so much hate for saying that.
Elaborate.
But I'm a loan
What do you
officer.
mean?
Well, I don't think that buyers in his case that are looking at houses should have to sign a buyer's rep agreement with an agent to be locked into that agent for like 6 months. Now, I understand the buyer's rep agreement when there's contracts being put in. But again, dude, I was a loan officer
Yeah, but
for
Travis,
20 years.
You got to hang on, buddy. It depends on what state you're in because that's the law here.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not optional. Buyer representation agreements are not optional in the state of Maryland.
Really?
There
I
is
didn't know
no
that.
presumed agency. You can't wait until the offer goes in. The way the law is written is very cut and dry. If you are not working for the buyer, you're working for the seller. So we have two forms. We have a buyer's agency agreement, or we have a whom the agent represents. And that buyer has to understand, don't tell me anything confidential because even though I don't know the seller, I work for them unless you sign this buyer agency agreement. Now, I will tell you that our buyer agency agreement is very easy to get out of, most of at least ours, Saks Realty, and basically, it's, you just give notice, both parties agree and then it's over. That's simple. But the issue is that there are some states that don't have an out, and they just expire whenever the length of that agreement is. And when I was looking at the Tennessee document, I mean, I'm not licensed in Tennessee, but it looks like it was just until it expired, and which is however long, 6 months, a year, whatever. So I don't agree that you should be tied with somebody that you haven't vetted. And, that doesn't come with with high accolades and, great reviews and a good reputation. So you have to do your homework. It's caveat emptor, right? It's buyer beware. And that's what we learn in licensing class. And, it all comes down to the problem here is that most people just go with their buddies. Or, a recommendation. Oh, I went to high school with this person or college, or it's my mom's best friend. And they do no interviewing and they don't ask any questions. And I recommend, that you Zoom or do some kind of a video conference and have a timed out. So I'm not big on meeting people face to face the first time necessarily. I think that this is a great way of doing it, because you can put a certain, stop, you're not stuck somewhere listening to some agent, blah, 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 talk about how great they are for an hour and a half and you can't get away from them. Do a Zoom call, ask your questions, write them down, and you're going to know whether it's somebody that, if you're asking the right question, that is a good fit for, your personality type and, for what you think, whether they can help you or not.
Melissa, Todd always ones up me like that. Well done, sir. Dang it, Todd.
But you guys are
That was
so
good.
entertaining, though, and it's such quality information. And I mean, everyone loves you. You can see it all here in the comments. But I'm so happy that you got to come on. But I just wanted to say, Zach, you're not alone in this. We get calls into the office all the time with people that just feel that they're not getting good representation and they really need help. And that's why, really we do what we do, is because to get good information out there and to be able to, if you're not getting it from your agent who, you've had working for you, at least you have another resource and be able to listen and get some valuable information. But, it's all going to be fine, and in the end, it's all going to work out. But I know you aren't alone, because I get these calls into the office, and I hear the frustration.
Yeah, no, you guys are great. I wish you were in Iowa, so that'd be awesome. I just don't have a big social network in realtors, so I'm kind of flying blind. But like I said, I've interviewed quite a few people now, and I have a good feel. I have a guy that I think is, he's been the best so far, that it's been more realistic and has wanted to work with me as a buyer more and not just be like the lady I talked to last night, pay $10,000 over, or are you planning on doing a inspection, because
Wow.
That may not be necessary. And I'm like, get off my phone. Yeah, like
May
I
not
would,
be necessary.
come on, like
Jeez.
Goodbye. Right.
Jeez.
craziness. But no, I appreciate you guys' time, and I know someone else is waiting here, but I just wanted
Yeah,
to.
well, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
right. Who
Yeah,
else we
thank
got?
you.
Got Matthew here.
Yeah, you there? Can you hear me?
We are.
We are.
Yep.
Hey, Matthew.
How are you?
We're
Can you
doing
hear me
great. How
okay?
are you?
Yep.
Testing.
We got you.
I think we lost him.
Did we?
Think so.
I think
There?
is he muted?
Matthew, it looks like you're muted now.
You're muted, Matthew.
Travis, this is fun, brother.
I love doing live so much. You guys inspired me, and it's just a good way to talk to the people that make us. I don't know how else to say it. To give back to them and just see what's going on with them, man. You know, so that we know what to talk about. We know what they want to know. I think we can hear him.
Matthew, we have you.
Can you have me now?
We got you, buddy. Go ahead. We
Yep.
got you, loud and clear. What's happening?
One of my rules is if the agent hasn't been in the business since 2005, I really don't want to listen to them.
Wow, good one.
If they haven't gone through it,
Yep.
Well, you know, in deference to Travis, God has saved millions from alcohol. God has saved millions from drugs. God saved me from mortgage banking. I was in mortgage banking from 86 to 96. So I was in right as the S&L crisis was hitting. Mostly out west. Came back to Iowa. Yes, Zach, I'm from Iowa too. Came back to Iowa to the mortgage bankers here were bigger crooks than they were in Seattle, if that's possible. The reason the agents don't want inspections is because the inspection tends to blow the sale.
Yep.
No other. Iowa's hot time is January through April, is our seasonal hot time. And so I did see things kind of start picking up a little bit, but it is the affordable, well-priced properties that seem moving along. You price it right, it's going to go.
Yeah, always.
You don't right, it's going to sit.
Yep.
And what you want to get for it, two different things. So, but yeah, I'd tell Zach to just hurry up and wait till about June when all the buyers start going back into underneath their rocks, what they do around here. And buying it around Halloween, Thanksgiving can be a $10,000 to $20,000 boom for the buyer versus waiting until January.
you say that inspections
At least in
kill the
our
deals.
market.
What are you guys seeing? What are the problems that you see with the home inspections in Iowa?
That's just the way the agents see it. Got older homes. You know, our inventory is well, your Mid-Atlantic is an older crop of homes in, say, Dallas. Dallas has a lot more new construction. So it's not necessary that it blows the sale. It's just now all of a sudden the buyer realizes, oh, I didn't know that problem was there, because they don't have a clue. It's, you know, that if they were professionals about it, they'd know. I've been in contracting since 96 when I left real estate. So, or left the mortgage banking.
We call that the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And you know what a lot of people don't realize is they buy a home and they think that it is going to appreciate, and it's actually a depreciating asset, and that's why investors get to write it off for 27 and a half years, because things break and become obsolete. And I was in a house the other day and they had a trash compactor and it was broke. And, it's a listing, and, we haven't seen those since like 1980s. We have garbage disposals, and, people don't have under the counter trash compactors in their home anymore. They stink, they're messy. But my point is that, what happens is these sellers have been living. This has been like the best time ever for sellers. Oh, I mean, maybe it was like that in the 70s too, because I know in the 70s they were buying anything without inspections back then too. You'd think we'd learn something from history
They
because,
didn't have
it didn't.
inspections.
Di-
Not
Say
old enough.
again?
Didn't have inspections. You're too young.
I'm
They
too
did
young.
inspections in the States.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, the issue that
Yeah.
is, with
I am old.
with
I am
sellers.
older than you.
Okay, well, I'll take that. I respect that. But with the sellers not fixing anything, right? Of course, these inspections aren't going very well.
No, of course they aren't. The advice I've always gave when I was in mortgage banking, and then even after that, was you really ought to have a place inspect it before you list it.
Yeah.
Then get all the problems your inspector catches, get them fixed, have the receipts, say, hey, here are the problems without, here are the receipts, we fixed them. And that's how you sell down market.
Yeah.
And usually the signs are when I see the Wall Street wanting to throw money at an asset, that's usually when it's about at its peak. We see it with farmland here in Iowa. We saw it in single family dwellings. And so, yeah, but real estate, like politics, it's all local. And it's always the job market that's going to drive it. And if jobs in your market start tanking, real estate's right behind it.
100%.
And if jobs are going great, people are getting wage increases, there's new jobs being created, real estate's going to be flying right behind it, going up too. It's always going to be jobs. And if anybody doesn't think real estate can go down, get themselves a time machine and go buy a condo in Florida in 2007.
So what do you think about
Most all those condos lost some of their value.
Yeah.
What do you think, Matthew, about wages not keeping up with inflation, and now that the majority of buyers just simply can't afford to buy?
They have an unrealistic expectation. So a couple of years back, I'm realizing all these are buying the $400,000 houses. Not an expensive house in Iowa. And thinking, how the heck are they buying that? Well, I started doing the math. And at 2.5% to 2 3/4% interest, mini Christmas, you can buy an awful lot of house. And you take that same rate, that same buyer that qualified for a $400,000 house at 2 5/8 qualifies for a $180,000 house at 10%. And I was in mortgage bankings when the 30-year fix came down to 10%. And we all did the happy fucking dance. Yeah. 7/8 at a point. Yeah, baby. We're going to do refis up the kazoo.
Yep.
Because
Are we going to see 10%
I remember walking by the S&L and I'm trying to figure out why it's not there now. I can't come up with a fundamental reason why the 10-year T-bill is not at 10% today. There isn't a fundamental reason for it. But it's not. I get that. I totally get that.
You think it's
and
just
I
the amount
do
of
know
cash
that when
that's
you
in the
kick a
market?
can down the road,
Boom.
there's always dumb
Look
money.
at that. Yep.
Charlie Munger once gave a person advice. When someone asked him, when should I buy a house? And he said, when you need one.
Well,
Charlie
Matthew,
Munger's
we have
advice.
a lot of issues. We appreciate you jumping in here. We're going to try and get to our other two that are on tap before we get out for the night. But we really appreciate your insight and your expertise. It's obvious you know what you're talking about here, and the issues that I think we really need to try and resolve is affordable housing. We just don't have it.
Yeah. Parting. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay, two things real quick and then I'll bug out. Number one, because I want to make sure I get this in. Congratulations, Travis,
Oh,
for your no
thank
cancer
you.
diagnosis
Oh,
today.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yesterday,
Amen.
got home.
Right?
Thank you, brother. Yeah. Amen on that. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
been about.
second, then I forgot. So, what was the last question you asked? I forgot. I want to get the other thing out of the way.
Oh,
But
I was
anyway,
just saying we
I
have
guess
affordable
it wasn't that
housing issue.
important.
Yep.
I appreciate.
Well, you have to
those
join
kind
us
of-
again.
That
We'll
was-
do it again.
Okay,
We'll
so
definitely.
in the last 40 years, the average home size has doubled. That's part of why things aren't affordable. It's that they're bigger. When I was in mortgage banking and did custom construction house, 1,800.
Losing you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're losing him. Yeah,
Very
but he's
good
right.
point, though.
The big thing that we
Yeah.
have here is, to his point, I mean, housing used to be the necessity, right? I mean, we built affordable
That was
housing.
a big.
After he's breaking up on us, but after World War II, I mean, we had a housing shortage, and basically the federal government put into place a program for developers to come in, builders to come in and build affordable housing. And then basically what happened from there is, I mean, we just saw houses starting to appreciate because the loans were extended to 30-year loans, and interest rates and down payment requirements were, lowered by the Federal Housing Administration. And as these things were making houses more affordable, of course, people could afford bigger houses. And then we started seeing price appreciation, and that's what spawned the American dream. Why, it was the dream to own a home, and how we saw home prices appreciate. The problem now is, as we saw in 2006 and 2008, this 2006 was the peak, and what we saw by 2008, 9, and all the way to 2012, it was a bloodbath, was that it can crash. It can come down.
Yeah.
People can get, financially hurt by overspending and buying too much house and using all of their cash and, depleting their bank accounts. It just goes on and on. You buy a bigger house, it's more expensive to heat. You have to buy more furniture. So it's people aren't thinking about the fact of, I can buy this. It's all the other things that come along. Let's bring in D123.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Let me know if I'm breaking up, and I'll log off. But I wish I had discovered channels like yours about 6-7 months ago. It would have saved me a fortune and a massive headache. First time buyer, really needed to get into a place. I was looking at renting back in June of last year, and I knew I should rent, but the bug to buy really bit me good. And I had been doing a bunch of research for not too in depth, but keeping track of prices around the nation for a couple of years. And I just was in the mindset that there's no bubble. It's never going to burst. And okay, I might not be as ready as I want, but I've got enough for a modest place in North County, San Diego. I couldn't afford a freestanding home, but I was looking at a townhome 2+2. They're kind of rare, but I started looking and I kept my finger to the pulse. I had enough money to put 3.5% down at about $550,000 and have 6 months reserve, but nothing else. So I thought, okay, if I get a place that is, maybe not quite turnkey, but is got a little bit of a yard for my dogs, it's got a garage for me to tinker around in, and has that extra room plus a bathroom I could rent if I get into trouble, let me see, what's possible. The rental market was white hot, believe it or not. I would almost argue
it was.
It's just tough to get into a place to buy. to rent. And
It
I
was.
ended up showing up to a place before I bought the place I'm in now, and there was six groups of people waiting for an hour, and the real estate agent never even showed up for a rental. That's how bad it was getting. And I let that get the best of me. And there was a real estate agent there who passed me their card and said, well, why are you looking at renting? You should buy. How much money do you make? I'm just into six figures. And as I said, I saved 3.5%. I started talking with them. My bank did not approve me, but there's always going to be a lender out there that does. Started working with the real estate agent and found a place that wasn't quite to my liking, really old, backed out, found the place I'm in now. And I'm looking over it. And there was a lot of things that really were red flags for me that my agent said, that's nothing. That's nothing. For one, the plumbing is polybutylene and it had burst. And the homeowner had done the repairs themselves. And there were signs of it everywhere. And I mean, everywhere. Shoddy drywall, ceilings, just the whole nine. And my agent said, well, chances are super high. Yes, the market's going to stable off, but it'll continue to increase as it was before, year over year, and you'll be okay. And I really started contemplating that, and I said, okay, let's do this. Let's go forward with it. Started seeing more things wrong with the place, and there's a stairs in the back from a deck that's raised that goes down in the yard that were rotted out, and my agent, I'm the one that ultimately signed, but the guidance I got was terrible. And I should have gotten my own inspector. I was thinking of doing that. And that's like one of the big takeaways I hear you guys kind of talk about, because the inspector that they had, really kind of glossed over a lot of the issues that were here. And I let them talk me into just verbally saying that the heater worked really well and didn't really check it. It needs a new furnace. It doesn't work at all.
So you didn't do an inspection, or you did do an inspection?
The real estate agent, they did do an inspection, but it didn't include many of the things that are wrong with the house. It needs a new look.
Can't he go back on the inspector on that, Todd, if they don't pick up any deficiencies?
No, Travis, this is a joke, man. I mean, and what has happened to him has happened to so many. I mean, these inspectors, a lot of them, they basically, they take this course. They have no construction background, and they if you read the contracts, I mean, it's so hard to go back on these inspectors. I mean, what we're hearing here is a classic story, and and it's terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, because we're dealing with here's a first-time buyer that's dependent upon professionals and professional guidance, and and clearly the industry, it has failed so many people, by saying, hey, look, but it's okay, but I have an inspector that was on my show. And she said that the amount of agents that she heard say, "That's okay, don't worry about that. I got a guy. If you ask for that, you're not going to get it." Yada yada yada. Right, on and on and on. And these are people that they're trusting. Right? Okay, you're the professional. I guess, is that right? Should I do this? And D123. What's your name, man?
My real name.
What's your first name, buddy?
Dominic.
Or your
Dominic, I can't tell you how. I mean, I'm so grateful that you decided to come on. I mean, and share your story, and be vulnerable, because
yeah, man.
I mean, it took a lot. It takes a lot to do that, and I hope that if you're a first-time buyer and you're listening to this show, that you take Dominic's story to heart, and really, because this has been a very costly thing for him. I mean, to change the plumbing, to replumb a whole house. I mean, just imagine the demolition that needs to take place. You move in a place, have all your furniture, and then all of a sudden you realize that you need to replumb your entire house. that's a big deal, or that your furnace needs to be replaced, it's thousands of dollars. So we thank you for coming on and sharing that.
Oh yeah, that's my big goal is I'd been thinking about trying to come on and I didn't think if it was worth it, but I just thought for anybody listening that's a first time buyer, I mean, I'll be a little more vulnerable if you care to listen. I still have my 6 months reserve and continued to research after I closed escrow. And the third day I was in my place, I realized what a huge mistake I had made.
Man.
And I had my gut wrenching and just so nervous signing the papers. And I thought, well, it's just nerves. But you know what? It wasn't. It was whatever you believe in. It was telling me, do not do this. Walk away. This is no good. I didn't think this place that I'm in was worth any more than $450. And my real estate agent laughed. And every time I tried to point something out, he looked at me and said, well, geez, it sounds like you just need a place that's turnkey. I never said that. I didn't say turnkey. I just wanted a place that was reasonable, that, you know, didn't have to be perfect, but was livable. I could move in. And I'll tell you this. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you and your listeners how bad it can be.
Yeah,
I'm trying
man.
to be cautious from here. I have no furniture. I have nothing. And the reason is because I'm so scared to spend any money in this market. And you know, I'm worried about what I should do. And I'm just trying to be really careful moving forward, because obviously I made a huge mistake, and I'm not complaining to you guys. I just want to tell your listeners, be very, very careful, and you guys are great, but don't necessarily trust the advice of your real estate agent. A lot of these people are in the business of transactions, and inspectors, I believe that a lot of them, unfortunately, they won't flag things because they want to push it through.
100%.
And I hope agents are listening to this. I hope that there is an agent listening to this story tonight, Dominique's story, that says, you know what, these are real lives. Yeah. These are real lives. This is the effect of, what happens when, we don't take the time to, try and educate our buyers to what could happen. I mean, we heard, our last, was it Matthew that jumped in and said that agents don't like the inspection. He said it, I didn't, that the agents didn't like the inspections because they were deal killers. Well, it is so critical to find the right inspector, because here we have a situation where the exact opposite happened. We had an inspection. It wasn't a deal killer at all. It was just somebody that glazed over the real issues of the house. And I had a situation like this. We had a situation where, our client bought the house. The unit, the furnace was replaced, but the A coil that sits on top of the furnace was original. It wasn't replaced. And nowhere in the documentation did the, inspector say, hey, the furnace was replaced, but this A coil is original. You should have that evaluated by a heating and air technician, because what happened was when the buyers moved in, they had problems instantly with the air conditioning. And when the tech came out and took the cover off of it, it was the most disintegrated A coil that he had ever seen. It was so bad. And they had just moved in a couple of weeks prior to this. And, when they went back on the inspector, they said, oh, no. Look here in the contract. We don't inspect things that are sealed. We don't look at that. We don't. I said, well, it would have been a good idea to say, hey, look, this is an old A coil. Right. But it goes on and on and on and on. So people are spending $500, $600, $700 for inspections, guys. And you can't even go by that in a lot of circumstances. So you have to make sure that you're asking the questions. And but thank you, Dominic. Thanks so much. We're going to get Johnny Fly on here, and we appreciate it, man. God bless you, and keep watching.
Good luck, Dominic.
Thank you, Dominic.
All right, Johnny Fly. I saw him on your show, Travis.
What's up, Johnny
Fly? What's up,
brother? What's going on, guys? Hey,
what's going on?
Hey, I just have two questions. So, number one, so where I live is Folsom, California. It's east of Sacramento. And I have a friend looking to buy a new house right now, and they wanted me to go look at, because they're in Idaho currently, they wanted me to go look at new homes for them. And yesterday, my father and I went to look for new homes. And there's a new development by a company called TriPoint, and
Yeah.
so their new homes are about 80 grand under what everybody else is going for. It's a brand new, yeah. So it's a brand new development, but they don't have a lot of upgrades. You know, all the other ones,
yeah.
they're already, you know, stick built. They're throwing in upgrades and stuff. And the Folsom market, there's not a lot of new listings happening right now. Inventory seems to be being bought up, so I think the age of the inventory is kind of staying stagnant. I almost get the feeling like the prices might go up.
What's the area again? You said it's east of Sacramento, but what's the city? Is it Sacramento?
Folsom, California. Zip code
Fulton?
95 Folsom, Folsom. Like Johnny Cash's
Folsom Prison.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look here and see.
And
what
it's only
this,
February too. Keep in mind, Johnny, it's only February.
So we went to go look at those new homes yesterday, and I'm not joking. In the one development, there was about 20 cars, people lined up outside. We go inside, and the gal that was there said, "Hey, why don't you come back tomorrow? We'll set up an appointment. We're going to be too busy today." And then so we went and drove around to a few other, because in Folsom, right off the freeway, this would be south of Highway 50. There's about 9 or 10 of those balloons up in the air saying new homes. So we went and drove around to a few of them. And 2 weeks ago, a lot of them were no agent appointment only. And this weekend, there's people lined up outside. So that's my first question. For people that are in one of these markets that might be a little bit hotter than the rest of the country, what are your thoughts for people that are kind of forced in a decision to buy? And then the second question I have is, I had this friend, we'll just use the name Travis, that currently is in a rental. Their lease is up. They have a property that they own, but they're also looking at buying their forever home. What advice would you give to them? Should they move into their vacant rental that has nobody lined up to move into it? Or should they re-sign their lease waiting to buy their forever home for their family?
Love you, Johnny.
Yeah, the thought on Folsom. So I can share my screen here. A look at to be going on there. And as far as Travis and his situation, you know, I always tell people to, you know, they have to add up all of the costs, you know, move. Because a lot of people look at rent and they say, okay, it's going to be $200 less a month. You know, if you can sign another year lease and it's going to cost you $200 more, or $2,400 a year, is it worth packing up the house and disturbing everything to move? You know, it would have to be a pretty drastic price reduction. And I think, and you have to consider everything too. Is it just one person moving, or are you uprooting, you know, your kids from a school system? You know, is it, you know, what kind of disruption will it be for them? First of all, you know, I have no problem with renters, you know, renting, you know, if that's what is appropriate for them at this phase in their life. You know, why stress yourself out and spend money that you don't have? And, you know, and I seem to think, you know, we're going to have a major correction still. I mean, I don't think that we may necessarily see the market crash in all areas, but I think we're going to see more opportunities come up. And as, you know, we start to see more foreclosures, and we're seeing it here locally, we're seeing more distressed property. I've been driving around seeing more vacant properties than I've ever seen in the nicer communities too, the more expensive home communities. And, you know, so I think that we're going to see more opportunities for people that, you know, are not afraid of doing some sweat equity. But looking at Folsom, California here, I mean, it still looks pretty hot. It still says it's a strong buyer's market. The median price has definitely dropped significantly. It looks like $20,000 in the last couple of weeks even. But the looks like your days on the market is the median days have dropped too. I mean, we're down 49 back on February 3rd. It was 84. So this is the last week update. But if we look at average days on the market, the 90-day average, you could still see is up significantly in the last year. 93 days on market. Do you think that's right?
Sounds about right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
here's the challenge too with Folsom. A lot of the listings are brand new home developments that they've thrown up there. They're sitting on
New
the MLS
construction.
for 300 days, and the only existing inventory that's sitting on the market are homes that are 20 to 25 years old, or built right around that 2005 2007 range that have never been renovated. So they still have their tile countertops, all the white appliances and stuff. So people are not really jumping on those. But anything with a fresh makeover, they're off the market in 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, I don't advise buyers to jump into, highly competitive bidding if it's something that, they can't afford. I think that the FOMO is real. The exuberance is real. People are getting excited and they're losing. I mean, we just heard the one caller, Dominque, say, after he signed the contract, he felt that it wasn't right. I mean, I like to refer to that as our uh-oh button. You know what I mean? We all have that when we start to feel kind of that sick feeling in the pit of our stomach that, man, we made a big mistake. And then we spend, the next several days and weeks justifying this bad decision and trying to just kind of smooth over or glaze over what just happened. And I think so much of this is avoidable.
Yeah, for sure.
If you just wait.
Yeah.
But people think that if they don't get this house, they're never going to find something else.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. No. Mm-mm. Now, my advice, Johnny, I think you already know, is to be patient, man. I mean, to be patient. Don't marry your house. Don't be chained to your house. Let the Federal Reserve do their job. Look at the data. Look at the inversion on the yield curves if you need to. The recession's coming. The fear hasn't even started yet. When the fear starts, and then also, Johnny, we're only in the end of February. Buying only came back for 5 weeks, and then what happened to the 10-year, my man? So I think they got their eyes on this because they know what's going to happen if it doesn't reset. I just think that if people rush in right now, man, I mean, obviously it depends on the buyer. If it's a well-qualified buyer, and things of that nature, it could be different. But people need to be careful not to get trapped into their house. And as far as my advice to your friend, what was his name? Johnny? Was that the name?
No,
of
his
your
name
friend?
was Travis.
Travis.
Okay. Sounds like a really nice guy. Whoever this
man,
friend
I got
is
that.
of yours. I think I'm going to move back into my rental and just wait it out because I could be free and flexible. I'm not locked into a rental agreement. And then that way, if I find a deal, at the end of the year, I'm good. The thing that sucks is the moving expense, like Todd was mentioning, and I have I have kids. My wife seems to be excited about it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to. It took me so long to make that an asset because remember, I had to crawl my way out of the gutter first and then reestablish. But I think I'm going to do it, man. I don't want to rent anymore. It's brutal, but I will rent if it's between renting and buying an overpriced house. If I'm going to buy an overpriced house, Todd, Johnny, Melissa, especially Melissa, if I'm going to buy an overpriced house, I better love that house with all my heart and soul. All my heart and soul, or I'm not going to overpay. Bottom line.
I want to add one thing, Johnny, to what you were saying. And a lot of people don't realize how closely commercial real estate is tied to the residential market. And I think, as Travis had just indicated, that this is just kind of the beginning. And as we heard Matthew say, that the housing market is really held up by our jobs market. I think if we listen to anything that J. Powell has said here, is that, and he has been very clear, and I think we really need to pay attention to this, they are not going to pivot from a 2% year over year target. That would mean at the rate we're going that it may take another 2 or 3 years to get there.
Yep.
Or a lot of pain by raising rates to such a level that it affects our job market. And I think when he started this about a year ago, right, he said that, and if we play back, he's been consistent, right? We are going to try and soft land this economy, but there's no guarantees of that. And, you know, if we have a massive job market loss or a reduction in wages, period, right? There was this recent poll that LinkedIn had published, and forgive me if I'm not completely accurate on this, but I'm close, that 70% of the millennials that were polled, or the Gen Zs that were polled, said that they wanted to change their job in 2023. Now, let me be one of the first to go on record and say, how do you think that's going to work for you? Right? It's probably the worst time to try and change jobs, because the first in is the first out should the, you know what, hit the fan, right? What we need to do right now is, in my opinion, is we need to stay calm, cut our spending that's not necessary, right? Start saving money, start paying attention to the things that we're hearing, right? And let's let the next 5, 6, 7 months play out. You know, let's get to the end of this year and see. I mean, we got a big election year happening. I don't want to get into politics on it, but guys, call it what you want. It's going to be a big campaigning, you know, year coming up, and there's going to be a lot of, you know what, thrown back and forth. And, you know, who knows what's going to fall out from that. But Johnny, I just wanted to say that when job loss happens, and it doesn't mean big job loss, it could mean local owned and operated businesses. When we start seeing shopping centers going vacant like we are now, when we start seeing malls going vacant and the owners being foreclosed on like we're starting to see now, these stores are closing down, right? This affects the community that you live in. So you can't just look at, you know, it looks like this is a great place to be right now and everybody's standing in line because the prices are cheap, or it seems like they're being reduced. You have to look at the broader picture and, you know, see what's going to happen if the, you know, the job markets change that serve that area. What is that? How's that going to affect the real estate business? Johnny, man, we hope you join again. It's getting late for us. I know we do have somebody else that we want to bring in too, but we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
See you, John.
Thank you. All right, so let's bring in our last guest here, and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, he's got the shirt.
Look at this, man.
He's got
oh
the
my
shirt.
goodness.
What?
What's going on?
I thought I was the only one.
Bravo, you're muted.
What's up? What's up,
Oh
everyone?
my God, I love
How's it going?
I love it.
I love the shirt.
Love your
I
shirt,
the
man.
channel.
Welcome to the show. So we are the last guest of the evening here, and look, and guys, take a look at the screen, and what you see is Sachs Realty quarter zips.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of the channel. I'm a huge fan of yours. You guys are doing a great job. So, because
Thank
there's
you.
there's not a lot of education about housing out there. So you guys are doing a very good job. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
My question is simple, and it's the hardest. When is the good time to buy a house?
I knew
Simple
you were
as
going to
that.
ask that.
So
As soon as you said it's the hardest.
Is it really safe to say wait until CPI hits 2 to 3% before you consider looking at houses? Or is it too late in that case?
Do you own a house now?
No, I'm a buyer. I'm looking to buy a house. First time buyer. I haven't really bought yet, but I'm looking to rent right now and I live in Michigan, state of Michigan.
Okay, Michigan.
Okay.
And I'm a very well qualified. I'm a
What's your
doctor
zip
also.
code?
I'm a doctor, so thankfully I'm in good shape. I don't worry about the pricing, but I worry about how smart to play it, because you got to be smart with your money. It's not just about
Yeah.
buying a house you want to move in. You want to buy
Yes.
for the future and for the right price. So, and I feel like everything is inflated by at least, we're sitting on this CPI, massive number of CPI already high. And you can definitely see the CPI is incorporated into the housing market. That's why the housing market is still up, because the CPI, that's why the CPI is still up, because the housing
Yes.
market is still up. Now, how are you
Yeah.
going to fix this without really
Yep.
forcing people to drop their prices is really hard. The only way to do it is
Yep.
just lay off people and scare them off. So the only thing I can see coming is, if you scare people off, that's the only way to drop the CPI, force these people who are sellers to sell the houses at a lower price. But I don't see it happening. So it's really like, the job market is good, the economy is good. So it might take for a while before we see that. The question is hard, because I feel like the safest time to buy is when you hit at least 2 to 4% CPI inflation, because this is not really the good time. It was still 6% and still a good job market. So I just want to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the CPI data and how you really tie it with the housing market? And thank you.
Yep, and it's a great question. First, I'd like to talk about CPI because I think a lot of people, we look at inflation, and I think I had said something earlier on the show too. And when we're looking at inflation data, number one, it's not the best way of collecting the data, right? So it's not, in my opinion. I mean, who am I? I'm just a business owner. I mean, I'm not, somebody that's survived for 33 years as a self-employed person, and I've gone through a lot of ups and downs. But when we're looking at, strictly from CPI inflation data, a lot of times what we're looking at is, not counting some of the most important, aspects to our inflation, housing, utilities, food, things like that. So I think the information is very sort of not very accurate. But the biggest thing, is that in order to get down inflation, we either need to, or the affordability, to deal with affordability, is we either need to raise wages, right, salaries, incomes, to be able to lower the cost of the goods that way, or we need some kind of actual deflation to bring the prices down. And the problem is that with the cost of doing business right now for a lot of these companies, I don't know how the inflation is going to get down to that 2% target without a lot of financial upset. So what does that do to the housing market? One or two things. I mean, if people can't afford to buy, you're always going to have people that need to sell. And then it's going to be a matter of how far down do they need to drop the price to be a value in that that pool of buyers, mind. What is that price that the buyer needs to feel is the value for the property, which is kind of difficult to predict without an all-out, crash, right? I mean, we know that if everything's crashing, then, prices are dropping like they did in '08. But I think more the answer to that, if I were a first-time buyer, I would be looking for, and if I was looking for something that was only going to, be a home for me for the next 5 or 7 years, I would look to make a purchase where I can insulate no matter what happens, right? If there's a major downturn and I end up, and I don't know what price you're looking at, but let's just say 450 is the price. And let's just say maybe it was 470 a year ago. And you're saying, okay, it's 450 now, but is that the price? If it could go to 400 and you have a $50,000 liability, if you tried to sell that house, is there a way of having some type of upside? So, I like to look at my first time buyers and kind of determine, are they married? Is there a significant other? Do they have children? Are there other factors that come into play that would, kind of change your decision? And if you can afford to buy, you have great income, and you're by yourself, or you don't have kids yet, or you can have more flexibility, then I would look at places to where I could have an accessory dwelling unit, to where I could get a rental, in that dwelling, or maybe it's a larger piece of land that I could break off a lot, and sell that. But I would try and look for some kind of upside, and it's not always sweat equity, because sometimes people don't like to do work, and they can't get financed if it's in too bad a shape. But it's kind of hard. I wish I had that magic answer for you, but I would say if you look for a property where there is more upside to it, with some creativity, maybe it's not zoned, it's not being sold at its highest and best zoning. And that would be me if I were making. Of course, I'm a real estate guy, and I've done that a couple times in my 30 some years of being in business.
So Todd, if I can, what was your name again?
Bravo.
Dr. Bravo. How are you, Doctor? Where did you get that shirt? First of all, you don't even tell me.
Todd sent it to me, so I just email him.
What?
Simple as that.
That's right.
Todd.
Same way you did, Travis.
No, I texted. It's different. But if you want, the thing is, guys, is like some markets, you don't have the price cuts, you don't have the inventory. You guys, we gotta wait till spring. First of all, to wait till spring before you get emotional, before you get frustrated, before you get upset. Understand it's just like January, February. It's the most dry time usually in the housing market. Wait for spring to get a better idea. If you want a magic date, you shouldn't. Okay, there's different reasons to buy, but if you just want to buy at the right time and you want kind of not the path of least resistance, but you don't want to hunt and fight, because you can hunt and fight now. And maybe you'll get lucky and find a house that's super under 2019 levels. But man, don't even think about buying. But again, easy way in, don't even think about buying until after the pivot, until after the Federal Reserve starts lowering rates, not slowing down the interest rate hikes, not keeping it the same, but when they start lowering the interest rates, then again, first time home buyer, you don't want to hunt, you don't want to fight. Just give me a day after the pivot, then start looking again, my opinion. But again, if you want to fight, or if you have a realtor that will fight for you, an expert, but still, even then, man, I have a hard time even saying that unless you have all cash. But you still. So my thing is I put an offer on a house under 2019 values. I thought that was fair. They didn't, because they didn't accept it, so they didn't think it was fair. I thought it was fair. But you got to hunt and fight. If you're going to, anytime you buy between now and before interest rates start going down, I think you're going to be potentially exposed, right? Overexposed to negative equity. And that's going to, maybe that won't hurt you if you have 50% down payment, 100% down payment. But if you're like a typical buyers, Todd, least amount of money down. Most of them, well, not anymore, because the buyers we have now are usually well-qualified buyers, but that's going to evaporate, especially in markets like mid-California or even St. Louis. These buyers are going to go away because there's only so many people that can afford to keep this show going. And rates are just going up, you guys. So again, I say to you, sir, either hunt and understand your market and fight and figure things out. And even then understand it's dangerous. But if you want a day, I say when you start seeing interest rates go down, then ask yourself. But that's also assuming that the Fed did its job. If the interest rates go down tomorrow, I'm not going to buy for a year or two. If the rates go down tomorrow, prices go back up, I'm out. I'm gonna pause it for a specific time. We need the prices and sticky to CPI as well, as we'll say.
Yeah. And that's a good answer, Travis. I think also, what we have to understand is that the inventory is just not high enough for prices to come down yet. Yeah. Where that's the problem is there's so many buyers that are on the sidelines and they won't calm down. They're not letting the market crash. So basically when they see a little bit of opportunity or a little bit of dip, when we looked at, interest rates going into the, mid sixes, everybody was like, oh, we got to buy now, right? And we're talking about a half a point, man. We're not even talking about, anything tremendous. and boom, right back up. We
I
start
can't
seeing
believe
things
it. I
again.
can't believe it.
I think what we're trying to do to understand the market is that when the market is going up, when we have an upward pricing trend, right? And I'm talking about not what we're seeing now, because this is like it's teetering, right? We see depending on how the market, but I'm talking about overall when we see house prices going up. The reason that the pricing's going up is because people are trying to give a price today that is higher than today, but lower still, hopefully, than it will be in 2 months from now, right? It's the same thing when the market's going down, right? If the trends are going down, we want to try and give them a price today that's not today's price, but maybe 30 days price or 60 days price, that it will be down to that point, right? Because that's the problem when you're buying in a declining market, is the house is worth less tomorrow than it is today. We're not seeing that yet, at least on mass scale. I think we have a long ways to go. I think this thing's going to play out over the next year, 18 months. We are still, in my opinion, guys, we are waking up. We will be waking up from one of the largest stimulus events that we've ever seen, the money printing that we've seen the most in the last 200 years. It needs to be reeled in. And I think that as a result, this is going to be inevitable. And, some people like to say that that's pessimistic. I think it's realistic. And I think that we need to, be more realistic if we're going to be prepared for, any kind of a sustained downturn. And guys, if you can't afford to buy right now, rent. But we'll wrap it up. Bravo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you. We
Thank
appreciate
you, Melissa. Good
being on
job,
the
guys.
show.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yep. And Travis, man, it's great seeing you, buddy. Thanks for being on. Thanks for joining
Yes,
me.
sir.
This has been a 2-hour show tonight.
I know.
And you were going to stay in bed or something, man. You were like,
I'm dying, dude.
I said, Travis, you want to jump on a show with me tonight? You said, oh, man, I'd love to. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I could just tell. When I saw you pop up in that lower corner, I said, he can't keep away.
I know.
He loves
man,
this
it's
stuff
just-
so much.
Well, it's because it's you guys, honestly. I mean, like I said, I
that's
gave
nice,
Orlando
man.
all I had, man. I gave Orlando all I had. I mean, I don't feel good right now. I'm sweating like crazy. But I was
buddy.
like, no, man. You guys have been there for me. I think it's really important that we stick together, especially. There's just a lot of reasons to stick together. Iron sharpens iron. Obviously, we all look at different angles. But I think the show has just started. I don't think that the show has just started. I know the show has just started, and people need to be patient. And they got to get over it. They got to get over the rushing. And everyone wants the house market to crash tomorrow. I wanted to crash tomorrow. I don't want to rent. I don't want to go back into my rental. I, more than anyone else that's watching, want the house market to crash tomorrow. But it's not. It's a process, and people need to be patient. And that's it.
Yes.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep.
And I just want to shout out to a couple of people. Crypto Mom, thank you so much for the super chat, or as Melissa says, super cash.
Super cash.
Super cash. Thank you so much, Crypto Mom. You have been a great supporter of our channel, and we appreciate you. I love your show. And Travis and Orlando, Melissa, of course, I did get my house that would have been $1 million adjusted for inflation, but I got it at $840. Sweet. I'm in Las Vegas, been planning for over a year. Love your show. Thank you so much. We
thank
appreciate
you.
you. I know there was a couple more. Am I missing them?
We just had one from Travis earlier at the start of the show. Thank you,
man.
Travis.
Thank you,
If
buddy.
you guys would have just answered that, I could have stayed in bed.
Yeah. Look, well, we appreciate you, man. And guys,
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows Travis, Real Estate Mindset. If you don't, cruise on over to his channel. He does an amazing job, man. This guy, I cannot tell you how proud I am to call him my friend. And he hit the road and went on this excursion, man. I mean, you were just putting it out there, walking through these new home communities. Guys, check him out. Watch his videos. He flew. What cities did you go to?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I went to Seattle, Las Vegas, and Phoenix, and I'm about to go to Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas. And the reason I do is I can't believe the realtors aren't giving me the truth. So I flew down there, got my butt. I went in those sales offices undercover, They didn't know who I was. And I got
Undercover.
all-
You were flying a
Yeah,
drone, man.
I don't want. No, I wasn't. I cannot fly a drone because I'm not licensed, and that's why I didn't fly a drone
No,
when I left.
I thought you had drone shots on.
Well,
a
I
couple of
do,
those.
but in Texas, I couldn't bring
Okay.
my drone guy out of state. But it was an amazing experience, and it's just so crazy, man. That the amount of hate I got from the realtors, like, no, blah, blah, everyone's under contract, and I'm like, dude, just go there. Just go there. And it's Copper Canyon. I'm going to tell you guys, it's Copper Canyon, Desert Oasis, and Phoenix. Those are going to be the epicenters of the housing market crash. Copper Canyon, Desert Oasis. Guaranteed, man.
Gotcha. Well, we love you, brother. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you, Travis. Feel better.
Thank you, guys.
Melissa, thank
oh my
you.
God, what a night. Thank you. So
Jeez, man.
we have a whole nother show to get to all the comments and questions that came in. I mean, this was so fun having the people join our live stream tonight. That was awesome. And Dominique,
That was amazing.
I am really going to be thinking about you. And I know you pulled on a lot of heartstrings tonight. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story, because I know it's going to help others as well.
Yeah, and thanks, guys. You and Joe for hanging with us tonight. I know
Yeah.
it's been a long day for everybody. And guys, we love you. We thank you so much for following along with our channel. If you haven't, one of the biggest compliments that you can make for us is to subscribe to our channel and hit that alert bell. You'll know every time we upload content, and we always love your comments, and keep them coming. And until next time.
Until next
good night,
time.
guys.
Yeah. See you next time.